Hey everybody, Robert with RC Archery. In this Tuesday's Tip of the Week video, I'm going to be going over the cleaning that I do on my hinge release, how I'm going to be taking it apart, what I use to clean it, and then I'm also going to show you how to build a string trainer that's incredibly easy to make and to give you a way to be able to still shoot your release if you can't pick up your bow right now. All right, so when it comes to cleaning my brass releases, I use flits. And the reason that I use this is because it's safe enough to use on your silverware. That's kind of its claim to fame, is you can clean your utensils that you're eating with. I like that. I don't really like a lot of chemicals or anything crazy like that. So there's lots of other things you can use. People use wax, car wax, different things of that nature. This is just what I prefer. Still gets it looking really good when you're done. Things that I've done in the past, I mean, you can clean it exactly how I'm going to do it today and what I'm going to show you, and it's going to look really great. If you want it to be a little bit wetter, deeper shine to it, you can do some wet sanding on it. That's going to really make it look good. I've done that in the past. You can get a little bit carried away with that. You can take off some of the markings on the release. You can change the shape of it. You can do some crazy stuff if you're not careful. But I use incredibly high grade of sandpaper, or grit rather. So like, I think it was 2000 to 3 or above 3. I don't remember now. It's been a long time, but you can do that. So I wanted to give you an idea on that. But basically when you're looking at this, I'm going to start disassembling this release and just taking it apart and cleaning it, piece by piece, but just kind of keeping it from getting too much in too many places. When it comes to the fulcrum flex, you can adjust the head of the release around left and right and get it closer to your index, closer to your middle finger. It's really handy. I mean, depending on the feel that you want for the release, the balance of it, more to the index side, and it wants to rotate and rock on its own a little bit more, and more to the middle finger side, it doesn't want to rock and kind of move on its own. So just kind of an idea on the different feel and what it does there. If you are a little bit hesitant about this, you can take a picture of it so you know kind of where you're at prior to taking all this apart. I've done this a few times and know where I'm at, so I think it'll be okay. But if you're paranoid, you want to do that, perfectly okay. You can see once you take that out, it just comes apart like this. So I'm going to put this screws there. I have my 2-finger attachment. It's going to be the same as any of the attachment pieces that you might have on there that comes standard with the release. You do the same with it. This is actually the original one that I had a long time ago, a couple years old now. It's plenty worn. So I have all of this. Put these pieces here along with that. Of course, I'm going to take the adjustment tool out, and then I'm going to take my thumb peg off. This is just a thumb peg that I made for my own. I don't sell these, but something that I wanted to have kind of special along with mine. And that's all we've got. All right, so when it comes to using this stuff, less really is more. You don't actually need a ton. And basically what I do is I just take a little bit and then I just kind of dab it around. And I'm going to use this and just get a good little coating over everything. I don't know that I've ever cleaned this release before. So this is probably the first time that I've done this on there. So we may need to do this more than once, but just to give you an idea of kind of what you're looking for. You can see it's already starting to take some of the corrosion, some of the oxidation off of it there. While we're doing this, you're not really worried about buffing it out or shining it up or doing anything right now. You're just coating it. It's going to start to look better as you do it. You can see it's starting to get a little bit of shine on it. It's starting to look a lot nicer, but it's still kind of milky and hazy looking. That's perfectly okay, because what we're going to do next is we're actually going to take a completely clean paper towel. You can use a rag, whatever you have laying around, and then you're just going to start rubbing through it and polishing it up a little bit this way. The clean portion of what we're doing here, it's good because it's going to take all the oxidation. It's going to pull it off of there. You're not going to have it where it's on the rag that you were using. You just kind of shift it around and move it through at all. And then when you're doing this, you can also kind of check and see if you've missed any spots, or see if you've got any areas that you've want to touch up or do a little bit more. If you'd like, you can actually take some Q-tips. That's usually what I do, is take a Q-tip and get the inside areas here, or down in these little finger grooves, or kind of in the little zones and stuff like that. But that'll be what I do to kind of finish it up. But you can see it's already starting to look really nice, even with light polishing, light movement. I'm gonna cover over this one more time, try to get a little bit better shine, a little better color, get these little inside grooves here and there with it. And then at that point, what I'm gonna do is, once I clean it off, I'm actually gonna run it under water. Now, this material is gonna be fine. It's not gonna, make anything rust up or do anything crazy or speed up the oxidation process with the water. Obviously, we sweat and we hold these releases too, but it's gonna help the material that we're using to clean this, get it out of these little bitty holes and little areas. Use a toothpick, you can use a paper towel, or anything that you need to try to get that out along doing it. But I like to use water and just kind of wash it off really quick, and then I'll start to clean it on this little piece and take it apart, and I'll show you that as well. All right, guys, here it is. This is all polished by hand, nothing spectacular, no sandpaper, no tools, just the flits and what I'm doing with getting it by hand here. So it comes out looking really nice for basic maintenance on these releases. Pretty good deal. I like it. All right, so I'm gonna set that here. I'm gonna start doing some little scrubbing and cleaning with a paper towel here, just to get a little bit of the grime off. Now, over time, just sweat and build up and what you're doing with it. It's nothing too crazy. Just clean that up a little. But what you'll see sometimes is that the motion of this, the rocking back and forth here, can get a little gummy, as well as just our hook and what we're doing here. So I like to take this apart every now and again. I don't put any kind of chemicals or any kind of lubricants or oil or anything in this when I'm done with it, because that's just going to attract dust, and we don't want to do that, because that's actually going to be counterproductive to what we're doing. But I'll take this apart and I'll just use a paper towel, wipe it down, kind of get it taken care of that way. This screw here actually is all that holds it together. Once you can get there, you can kind of start rocking it back and forth. It's going to take a little bit of force, so don't be too afraid of breaking anything or hurting anything, but it comes apart like this. There's a little shaft there that runs through the middle of the moon. If you've ever changed out the moon on one of these to a different click or smooth moon, then you've had to do this. And then there's another one that's going to be for the hook here. So I'll start taking this apart bit by bit, and then I'll clean it up a little bit. There we have it, guys. 100% back to new. Good movement here on the top. Everything is very free flowing. There's no binding, which is great. It's going to make shot execution feel a lot smoother. You can actually feel this a little bit if it starts to get gummy as far as motion that's needed, but 100% brand new again. All right, so now on to building a string trainer, and you can be creative with this, and you can do this a lot of different ways, but you can make it as simple as possible as well, and just use regular string. Take a little bit of the string off here like this, start measuring it out. What I would recommend is doubling your draw length. So like for me, I'm right around 28.5 inches. So I'm gonna double that, and then I'm gonna add an extra, say 1 foot to it. And that gives us some wiggle room, because you've got to do two different things. You're going to have to tie this off, so it's going to be able to be a little bit of an adjustability that way. You're going to include the loop length, because that loop length plus our draw length is what we're trying to get right now. And then also what I like to do, and why I add extra length on it, is because I like to create a handle. Now you can use a bow grip if you have one, and run it through there and connect it and be fancy, like I said, and do it that way. But you can do something as simple as literally taking a paper towel and wrapping it around the, to form a grip using some tape, wrapping it with tape. That's what I've done in the past, because you'll see that as you're drawing the bow back and as you're kind of pulling into your shot, that string's gonna pull into your hand, and after a while it really starts to hurt the webbing of the hand, and just kind of, you can feel it pulling against you. So I like to create something for a handle. But I'm gonna take this, measure off, and make it about, like I said, twice as long plus a foot, and then I'll show you how to set it up and adjust it. All right guys, here's the finished product. Again, this is very crude. This was very quickly made, and it's incredibly easy. I mean, I just wrapped the tape around it basically the same way as I would a tennis racket grip, baseball bat grip, just overlapping it slightly as I ran down it. It holds this in place. It makes it a little bit, sturdier. It puts it on there, but I mean, it's ready to go. I mean, we can sit here and I can draw back and I can get to anchor, and then I can start to work through my shot and have a little bit of fun with what I'm doing. Now, one thing that I didn't show when I was making this, because I was doing it really quickly just to kind of go over what we were doing, is basically just wrapping it over, kind of roughly drawing the draw length and loop length and kind of combining that and doing it. But once you start doing this, you can actually pull the string through. You can adjust the knot in there, make this longer, shorter based on how we did it there, and then you can get it to be that perfect feel with what you're doing with your draw length to be able to work through. This will work the same thing. If you're a recurve shooter, you can have it here. You can work on pulling through, having your shot. One of the things that I will recommend and will say is, while you're doing this, to focus on what the string is doing at the shot. So if we're pulling through here and I'm working through my shot and the release fires and the string just kind of falls off the release, you're not really using any pressure. You're collapsing a little bit. You're not pulling against the back wall. You're not doing anything dynamic. But even with this little string, if you're pulling through it like this and we're working through our shot and we go to fire the release, it's going to kind of fling it forward a little bit. So one thing to look for on this and what you're kind of shooting and watching it come forwards. Another is to watch if it goes off to the left or right, because that can show if you're torquing it a little bit, if your alignment is off a little bit, or if you're pulling away from your face or doing anything crazy with the release. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. This is something to do while we're stuck at home and having a little bit of time to ourselves, especially if you can't shoot your bow like normal. This is a good option for you to be able to still use your release, have some time as far as working on your shot execution of what you're doing. But I appreciate everybody watching today, and I'll talk to you soon.